Heather Maples was on the verge of living the life she had always dreamed of, but on the very night she went out to celebrate, a cruel twist of fate awaited her. At first, the suspect seemed obvious, but the truth was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. Stay with me as we uncover the chilling details of this tragic story. Heather Nicole Maples was born on August 23, 1992 in Ocala, a city in Marion County, Florida, with a population of just over 55,000. She was the only child of Darren and Jennifer Maples. Her childhood was described as normal, filled with energy and joy. She spent her early years in Ocala before her family relocated to Roy City, a small town in Texas with just over 7,000 residents. Life in their new town was peaceful at first, but over time, cracks began to appear in Darren and Jennifer's marriage. Their once happy relationship deteriorated, and eventually they made the difficult decision to separate. Following the separation, Darren gradually distanced himself from Jennifer and Heather, reducing contact until he was almost absent from their lives. Jennifer worried about the impact this might have on Heather, both emotionally and academically. However, despite these concerns, Heather remained a dedicated student with many friends and aspirations for her future. Eventually, Jennifer met Randy Hunter, and the two started a relationship. They got along well, and Randy took a liking to Heather. They later married, and in 2004, Jennifer gave birth to a son, Ryan. Heather was thrilled to have a younger brother, and their bond grew strong. However, as Ryan grew older, he was diagnosed with a mild developmental delay, requiring extra care and attention from his family. By the time Heather was in 7th grade, she had taken it upon herself to help care for Ryan. Despite being so young, she displayed an impressive sense of responsibility, dedicating her free time to teaching him how to walk, talk, and eat. As the years passed, Heather continued to look after Ryan. By the time she reached her senior year of high school, she asked her mother and stepfather for permission to use one of the family cars so she could drive her brother to school every day. Initially hesitant, Jennifer and Randy eventually agreed, recognizing how much easier it would make their daily routine. Heather's commitment to her family never wavered. During high school, Heather's best friend and confidant was a boy named Chess. They shared a deep bond, and after graduating, Chess moved to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to pursue his studies. Heather had planned to study psychology in Tennessee as well, but decided to stay with her family for a little longer. During this period, something unexpected happened. Heather's estranged father, Darren, reached out to her after years of no contact. He expressed his regret and his desire to make up for lost time. Darren, who worked as a truck driver, was living in Missouri with his new family. Slowly, a relationship began to form between father and daughter, but Heather reportedly kept this a secret from her mother. Jennifer had long moved on from Darren and wanted nothing to do with him, so Heather avoided stirring up conflict by keeping their renewed connection private. Despite the distance, Heather and Chess remained in touch. He often talked about how exciting university life was and encouraged her to join him. Inspired by his words, Heather decided to move to Tennessee in December 2014 to finally pursue her studies. At 22 years old, she packed her bags, brought along her beloved cat Oliver, and set out for a fresh start in Murfreesboro. Once settled, Heather found a job, rented an apartment near her workplace, and quickly made friends with other young people chasing their dreams. One of these new friends was Kelsey Price, a coworker who also lived in the same apartment building. Kelsey later described Heather as someone with deep empathy, always willing to help others. However, one of Heather's biggest flaws, she admitted, was that she trusted people too easily, even though she barely knew. Heather and Chess's friendship soon evolved into something more, and they officially became a couple. The early months of their relationship were normal, but as time passed, Chess's behavior changed. According to Heather's coworkers and friends, Chess became jealous, possessive, and controlling. The relationship that once brought her happiness became suffocating. Eventually, she reached her breaking point and ended things with Chess, cutting off all contact. She decided to focus entirely on achieving her biggest goal, getting a scholarship to study psychology. Her father, Darren, had promised to help her with this dream, trying to make up for the lost years. Shortly after her breakup with Chess, Heather met Brandon Richmond Bowling. Brandon, originally from Sevierville, Tennessee, had been adopted by a woman named Patricia as a baby. He was an excellent student and a standout football player in high school. After graduating, he attended university while working as a restaurant manager. In 2012, he had a run-in with the law for public disturbance after drinking excessively, but aside from that, he had no known history of violence. Heather and Brandon connected through social media, exchanged messages, and went on a few dates. Around the same time, Heather received incredible news. She had been accepted into university to study psychology. Overjoyed, she immediately shared the news with her mother and stepfather, who were just as excited for her. She later told her father, Darren, who promised to celebrate with her in August, by gifting her a car for all her hard work. On August 6, 2015, Heather went to work as usual. That evening, she told Kelsey she planned to go out to celebrate. Since they normally commuted together, Heather asked Kelsey to wake her up if she overslept the next morning. Later that night, Heather went to a bar with friends. Around 11:40 p.m., she called a man named Michael, someone she had met recently, asking for help. She told him someone was bothering her at the bar. Though they barely knew each other, Michael agreed to help. After leaving the bar, Heather and Michael stopped for food. At some point, she handed Michael the keys to her apartment, though he found it odd. When she finished eating, he walked her home. It was around 12:15 a.m. when he left her at her apartment door, accidentally taking her keys with him. However, since she had rushed out earlier, she had forgotten to lock her door, allowing her to enter without the keys. The next morning, Kelsey noticed Heather was absent from work. Concerned, she called Heather's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Remembering their conversation from the previous night, Kelsey went to check on her. Upon arriving, she saw Heather's apartment door was slightly open. Calling out her friend's name, she stepped inside, but there was no response. As she reached the bedroom, she was met with a horrifying sight. Shocked and terrified, Kelsey immediately ran out and called emergency services. Police and paramedics arrived around 9:30 a.m. There was no sign of forced entry and nothing appeared stolen. Heather's phone was still inside. Her lifeless body was found on a mattress, showing clear signs of a violent struggle. The forensic team soon found a critical piece of evidence: a fingerprint. A week later, forensic analysts identified a match for the fingerprint: Brandon Richmond Bowling. When confronted, Brandon claimed he had been in Heather's apartment before and that their last encounter had been consensual. But when police searched his phone, they found something chilling: a video of the entire crime. With irrefutable evidence, Brandon pleaded guilty in February 2018. He was sentenced to 55 years in prison, eligible for parole only after 40 years. Despite everything, Heather's mother forgave him, saying hatred was too heavy a burden to carry. Heather Maples was laid to rest in Texas in August 2015, surrounded by 200 people who came to say their final goodbyes. Please support me, subscribe my channel,